All right. Welcome back to the Built to Grow podcast. I'm your host, Tim Lyons, in the headquarters of the studio, Built to Grow podcast, joined as always by Randy Angston. What's up, buddy?
How we doing?
Good. I'm back in the saddle. I've been in Oklahoma City for 12 days. 11 days too long. It's tough, man. I can't, and a lot of people listening can probably relate. It is hard to not work. Like you feel like you're being lazy. You're just like, what am I doing? And yeah, it's family time. I was out there for my daughter's, youth national Arabian competition. It was our first year. And let me tell you guys, what happened over that 12 days with her, she's 10 years old, is I don't know how to explain it, but I'll tell you the story. It's just like mind blowing how strong this little girl is. So, I'll just go into it. Who cares? This is her first year riding. So she's got 2 horses that she rides. We lease them from the barn, but they're really expensive. Like so we're invested into this thing. So we go out there and she rides this horse, Nikki. Nikki's an Arabian full breed, Arabian. And they have classes for all Arabians and half Arabian. Anyways, long story short, she has a beautiful ride, 3/4 of it. And she's coming down the last turn, and Nikki just wants to act up, thinks the class is done, and goes out into the middle and stops. And she can't budge the horse, and so DQ'd. She's out, and so that's her first, experience, and she's like bummed, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
2 days later, she's on this other horse, Voodoo Child. What a great horse. Bloodlines are like royalty with this horse. There's an actual, like the father of this horse is like that, a Briar horse made of it. It's like a Huckleberry Bay. If you're in the industry, it's like this famous horse. This is the horse's sire, whatever. The horse comes out like a rocket, and it's a walk trot class. They're not supposed to be moving, galloping and cantering, and she just can't control this horse. It's so, call it hot, it's so much energy. It was so excited to be there, and DQ'd. So now she's never done nationals. She's DQ'd out of 2. Well, I wouldn't say DQ'd, last place. She didn't get ejected or anything, but she's bummed. Yeah. And she's all bummed.
Non-placing.
And, she had some high expectations. She goes home and gets COVID. 2 days later. So she's sick as a dog, 105, 103 degrees all night, sweating so we have to pull her. We can't bring her to the barn. Yeah. She can't practice. She can't go out there. And, thankfully we were there for so long. She misses all of her classes in the middle of the week, and we're getting ready to go home. We're done. We just kind of that's it. This is what it is. And she starts feeling better. And she's like, Daddy, I want to go ride. Let's go. And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
And I was kind of nudging her a little bit, but she comes back and she rides that last ride on Nikki again. And she gets 4th place, which is massive. There's 11 girls or kids out there. And this is 4th place in national event, last class. So she got her little plaque and ribbon, and she's just back on cloud 9.
There you go.
So what does that tell? I mean, if we're going to do, a story here, it's hey, you could give up. Yeah. If your business beats the hell out of you every day. You can just mail it in and be done and say, hey, I give up. Or hell, be like Alexandra and go step up, guys, and go put that work in. And so proud of her. She's pumped. And, of course, now she wants a horse.
Naturally, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, props to her. Shows up at, first nationals. Yeah. Think about this, guys. First nationals, just to even be there, would be huge, right? You leave 11th place, you're still 11th best youth national in the world, at that time, right? But not only that, but she gets slapped with adversity, COVID of all things in the middle of this, and decides, once she's able to, she wants to get back on the horse, quite literally, and compete. And I know her well, right? I know her little attitude and how she was probably formulating everything. She was dialed in at, final. But to come out number 4 is huge.
It's huge, yeah.
And I love that because the adversity is enough to make most people give up. Yeah. Typically, right? Oh shit, I got COVID. I'm out. Yeah. It would be easy, and nobody would second guess that, right? Normally we'd be oh, totally understand. That's all right.
Correct.
But she didn't.
Yeah. And guys, if you ever had COVID, you're down. You just have no energy for the next month. Right. Ugh. So she did the ride and she went to sleep for 6 hours after. So proud of her. And that goes into kind of our Iron Circle Grit Award.
Yeah.
We gave that award out to Missy, surgeries, COVID, loss of employees, down 50, 60%, comes all the way back, right? And there's so many gyms that are closing, There's so many gyms that have kind of like, hey, this is it. This is my fate. And then there's others out there, and you guys are listening. If you're listening to the show, it's probably you. You guys have been beaten up, right? We've all been beaten up, and you're coming back. And then so that's kind of what our topic is about today. Not necessarily the grit and the adversity and all that stuff, but like, hey, how do you know if your gym is healthy?
Yeah.
Right. And for years and years running the gym, I just would have the P&L. And if you guys know anything about P&Ls, it's a snapshot of what happened in the past. So it's not really, it's basically, how did you do? It's your report card.
Yeah.
And you don't really know, like, is there money in the bank account or is there not? Like, hey, how do I know how I grade up against the global, like, good gyms? And so there's this book, Profit First for Micro Gyms, by John Briggs. Highly recommend. This is the first book, guys, that I've seen that really lays it out. Like, hey, your margin should be this percentage of gross revenue. These are your line items. And I'm going to kind of go through it. But up until this book, it was, how's my profit margins? What do I know? Is 10% good? Is 20% good? What's the industry average? I will tell you the industry average is 10 to 12%. Okay. Net profit. Like, that's just kind of globally IRSA's numbers. Yeah. It's like, hey, and if you think about 10 to 12% net profit, if let's just say you were doing, I don't know, 500 grand, 10% is 50 grand.
50 grand.
That's profit. And like, hey, we're working pretty hard to get there. And so the idea around Profit First, by Mike McCallowich, which is the the author of the big book, Profit First, this particular one for micro gyms is just niched down for us. It really forces you to take that profit up front.
Yeah.
And so the equation in a typical gym or typical business is, revenue minus expenses equals profit. In Profit First, it's revenue minus profit equals expenses. What's the difference? Well, we're saying, hey, we're going to lock in that profit, put it over here, and we're going to have to operate the business on what's left.
Yeah. Yeah, you're forcing profitability instead of sitting there and seeing what kind of scraps you got left.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I don't know what law it is. I don't know if it's Parkinson's law. I don't know. There's a law that says, hey, our expenses will grow to the revenue that we have. And so that just means that, hey, we're going to find things to spend money on if there's money in the bank.
Sure. And
so Profit First really helps you break down your expenses, your profit, it pulls out money for taxes. And I want to go over these. They give you a nice chart in here. So props to John Briggs. John Briggs is a CrossFit owner, but he was an accountant first. So this is like second nature to him.
Yep.
All right. And so in the Profit First model, the idea is that we have, top line revenue minus cost of items you're selling. It basically comes down to real revenue. On a P&L, it's net income. It's total income minus cost of goods sold equals, gross profit. Gross profit is basically what money do we have to work with, okay, at the top line. Now, moving down, you've got things like staff. What percentage of gross revenue should be your staff and payroll? Well, they're saying, hey, here, you try to shoot for 25%. 25% or less. I mean, I guess
of course,
or
ideally,
less, right? Ideally, it would be less. But like, hey, is your staff payroll 25% or less? Is it? If it is, check the box.
Check that
right?
box. Yeah.
If it's much lower, let's just say it's 10%. Hey, you know what that means? You might have some room to give raises or hire a new employee. A lot of times gyms will go bootstrap thing, and the gym owner's doing all the work, not really paying for themselves. So like artificially staff payroll is lower, but somebody's got to do that work. And if you're not paying yourself, well, that's where it's coming from. Sure. So this is a good exercise to kind of go back and say, hey, what's our percentage of gross revenue is payroll. So in Profit First, they're recommending 25%. Next line item is profit, forcing 10% profit off of every deposit. So if you get a deposit for $2,000 today, you peel off $200 and throw it in a separate account, lock in that profit. Now every quarter they force you to take distributions, and that way you're and I like this because here's money that's set aside that is profit. Not again, this is not needed for your business. You've got operating expenses down here in a little bit, but like, hey, now I've got $5,000 in here and I've given myself a bonus.
Sure.
Or the owner, or you can give it out for like profit sharing. I like that. So the next line item is owner's pay. And if you have multiple owners, this is a combination, but like in the profit first model, they're saying, hey, 15% of gross revenue should be owner's pay. Is it more? Is it less? Take a look, right? So if you have your P&Ls, we're through June, 6 months. Yeah. This is like, hey, we can really get a good look at how are we doing. And then it gives you time to adjust, right, for the end of the year. Then the one that is really interesting here is the tax account. In standard business, what happens is you take a K1 distribution as, let's just say there was $50,000 in profit in the business. You move that over to your personal income as an owner, and now you owe taxes on the $50,000
as income.
As income.
Yep.
And that comes out of your personal account. What Profit First does, or this model, it says, hey, we're going to peel off 10% of every deposit, put that in a separate tax account, and when the tax bill comes, the money's there from the business's paying.
The business is covering the taxes.
Isn't that interesting?
You're getting $50,000 in real pocket money as opposed to net tax.
Yeah, exactly. And so, wow,
huge.
What a epiphany that was like, I didn't know that there was a way to do this.
Well, I mean, before we continue, just the idea here, and it's global for the whole profit first thing, but this is how you force making sure that your business is taking care of you, your team, everybody, as opposed to just opening up the four walls and saying, okay, whatever's left, let's figure it out from there.
Yes.
And unfortunately, the struggle that we see most business owners in are, you're down the road, you've got the business has been doing its thing for, 2 years, 10 years, 12 years, whatever it may be. Now you're trying to figure this stuff out. But how do you do it when you have a whole business and all of those expenses and everything's already there? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And like you have to stop and you have to make a change if you want
the way
to bring some of these things.
The way you do this, and we moved to Profit First a year and a half ago. I actually reached out to these guys and said, hey, I want to just do this. Mm-hmm. And it kind of forces you to, it forces cash flow. It forces cash flow management, I should say. And the tax one was huge for us. We weren't really peeling off any money from the business for taxes, but let's just say, hey, you did $2,000 deposit, you peel off every deposit, or you peel it off weekly. There's a cadence here. And the only way to get to this is to take your P&Ls over the last 6 months and see where are we at today. Most gyms don't have a tax account.
Sure.
So that's definitely going to help you guys. The next one's equipment. Hey, in the Profit First models, hey, you should have 5% set aside for equipment. And that could be equipment purchases, equipment repairs, maintenance, all that stuff. And again, at the end of the year, if this money isn't spent, you can move that up to profit.
Sure.
Which is cool. And then operating expenses is 35%. 35% for everything else. And that's rent, that's marketing, electricity, office supplies, cleaning, janitorial, all that good stuff that goes into operating expense, 35%. And the way it kind of works is that you have all these different bank accounts and you're really just moving money around all the time. And then when you need to make a payment, it comes out of OPEX, right? Operating expense account. And it's like, there's all these different accounts.
Yeah. Think of them like buckets, right? And when something comes in, you have to take, it's $1 and now you've got 100 pennies and you got to figure out which bucket gets
it's the
how
old
many of those
envelope system.
It is, exactly. Yeah. But again, it's prioritizing our objective from the business.
Yeah.
Right? Like we're forcing profit, which is the goal of the business from the beginning. I love that mentality because it's not just, okay, we've got the business, now we've got scraps and we'll figure it out. It's this is when it comes back to like reverse engineering when we work with gym owners. What lifestyle do you want? What do you want out of your fitness business? What is the salary you expect to be able to bring home at the end of the year? Okay. Let's figure that out. Now we know our percentages. This is what your business has to produce and create and do in order for you to be able to do that, right? We can reverse engineer that. But normally this is what we're doing. I'm paying everybody else. The place has got its lights on. And now it's like, okay, what do I have for myself?
Left?
What's left? And that's, it's almost like a back against the wall type of thing as opposed to being at the forefront and controlling.
It's reactive.
It is, absolutely.
What's cool about this though, guys, is it gives you percentages to hit, which I don't think up until this book or something that was maybe in the underground accounting world that you ever really knew. You didn't know. Like,
we talk to other gym owners and it's a common question all the time.
What should we spend on this? And now OPEX, which is operating expenses, 35%. Now dive deeper into that. Like, hey, how much should your rent be? How much should, marketing budget be? How much, right? And if you guys have looked at our math of marketing, you're going to know the answer to that. You guys, go check out winninggym.com/math if you're interested in the math of marketing. That'll tell you how much to spend on marketing in case you're questioning that. But the point of this is, I will give props to this guy, John. I did talk to him several times on the phone. We were doing this Profit First. You can go check it out on Amazon. Finally, there's somebody that says, hey, this is a good target to try to hit. And if you're hitting these numbers, congratulations. Yeah. Good job. You're in the top 5-10% of the businesses out there. You're profitable, you're paying yourself, the tax are paid, everything that you can think of is kind of covered. And, doing this for a little over a year now, it's like, hey, I can see how this really helps a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, because again, it's not just what's left. And that's the thing is, and again, back to being retro, like if I don't know what's going to be left at the end of the month, and it's now month over, right? If everything we're looking at's in the past, right? We don't know what the end of this month is going to look like. I don't know how comfortable my thing is. It's always forward facing. You can project just like we do with the business, right? Marketing and our average, client values. We can project because of the EFTs and things like that, what we're going to be earning next month to some degree. What the next few months of our business looks like. This is forward forecasting.
Yeah.
And we leverage that. That is power. That is clarity. That is the number one focus for any gym owner that we work with, is getting them back into the driver's seat and looking forward in the business. Not, holy crap, what do I need to go fix or pull along with me? And so I think this is probably one of the bigger takeaways that we could, really kind of open. And even if it's not, necessarily going full profit first model, prioritizing profit in your business, prioritizing the numbers of
not overspending,
knowing a goal. And I think that's been a difficult thing is when we don't have something to aim for, we're just kind of
going back to one of our past episodes, which was like the best thing about the fitness business is this reoccurring and grow, subscription model that, people that are so, paid in full kind of look past. What's really cool about the fitness business is, a lot of times operating expenses are fixed. And so for every dollar that you put into the business, it's all profit. It's all profit, right? Sure, you can distribute to different buckets, but at the end of the day, if you're not spending the equipment, you just move that to profit and you're good. So why wouldn't you? I mean, why wouldn't you do this? Why wouldn't you at least have a goal? But knowing that, hey, if my base operating expenses are covered right now, every dollar that I make today and in the future is going to go to profit. Like, shouldn't that light a fire? Isn't that great? Like, it's awesome. Like, I don't know.
I could tell you that it would really suck starting every month in the red and having to figure out how to go outsell the hole you're in and then create profit, right? Yeah. Knowing that from month one, or day one, I guess, of your month is a big deal. Yeah. The clarity, the comfort. I mean, even from just a mindset thing, like we talked about, like, you don't resent your business because that it's providing what it's supposed to. We talk to gym owners all the time that are just, they want to pull back or they don't know what to do, or they throw their hands up in the air because, things are either so bad or they just don't know what to do to get to that, in front of the 8 ball type of thing. But the EFT is a big one. I had a conversation with a gentleman probably 2 weeks ago on a call, and his whole business was built around one-on-one personal training in sessions, 12-week session packages. And that was his whole business. And so when we start talking about the trouble that he's in, not trouble that he's in, but like, getting him out of where he's at versus where he wants to be, that was the first suggestion I had. I was like, well, every 12 weeks, you're reselling everybody. At the end of the day, you don't know what your business is making this month versus, next month. So what we did is we talked about the subscription model. He started changing that. And I mean, he hit me up on Instagram. And he hasn't even moved to us. Like, this was just our initial call. And so we talked about the reasons that some of those things are in our businesses. And he made the decisions, started changing it all on his own. Good. But, he came back to me and he's like, man, I've already made myself And this is big because, he's selling a 12-week package typically. But now he came back to me and he goes, I've already made myself over $2,500 additionally each week because I've moved to the...
over 10 grand.
Yeah, exactly. Because he moved to an EFT model. And so now he's got that kind of forecasting.
Oh, beautiful.
From the number of clients that he's brought in into those packages and sold them in EFT, as opposed to, okay, I got 10 grand in my bank account, but what do I do next month?
Right.
You know what I mean? And now, granted, sure, that money, if you budgeted it, could do the same thing. But what's your point earlier? If you got cash in your pocket, what's that law, right? You're gonna find a way to spend the money. So the EFT model, we talk about the delta. Mm-hmm. That's the lifeblood of the business, month over, focusing on just increasing that. It's massive clarity.
Now, I'm going to throw a disclaimer on this because I know people are going to be like, well, hey, the reason I don't do that is because of this. If you're trying to get financing in your business, okay, maybe you're going to buy a building, maybe you're trying to sell the business, your margins are going to change a little bit. Like your profit's going to go up, your owner pay might go up a little bit. You might drop your operating expenses down below these numbers because you have to show a healthier business. This model is going to be for you're just going down the road of being a business owner. If you're trying to limit your tax liabilities, this is going to change a little bit. Okay. Just so throwing this out there, because I know, hey, Tim, well, the reason I don't do that is because look, this is what I'm trying to share with you is like some targets and some percentage that you should try to understand. Hey, are we healthy today? Are we healthy in the future? How to predict. But yes, if you're either trying to go for financing, if you're going to try to sell your business, if you're trying to limit your tax liability, yeah, the percentages are going to change a little bit. Consult your CPA. We're not a CPA, but just want to let you know, like, hey, there is a formula here that you can go look at. Go check out that book. And if you have any other questions regarding your business systems, we do talk about this in our in our coaching program, our business accelerator. I don't want to leave this podcast without giving you some direction, a call to action to get on a call with us at winninggym.com/grow. You're going to jump on a call with Randy. We'll be able to kind of dissect where you're at in your business. Mm-hmm. And hey, like for example, the guy that wasn't ready to work with us yet, he gave him plenty of direction. He's already making positive changes, and we know in the future, hey, when the time's right, we'll come back and we'll probably have another conversation. So yeah. Don't wait, guys. There's help out there for you. We have our business accelerator program, winninggym.com/grow. We'll put it in the podcast notes so you don't have to go write this down while you're driving. Be safe. That's it for this episode, guys. Hopefully that helps you out. Until next show, keep changing lives. We'll see you on the next show. Bye. All right. And thank you for listening to that episode of the Built to Grow podcast, where we help gym owners win. Now, do you want to connect with me and other gym owners online? All you need to do is join our private Facebook group, Business Talk with Fitness Professionals. Just head on over to Facebook and type in Business Talk with Fitness Professionals. And when you do, we're going to give you our 10 marketing strategies 7-figure gym owners use to win. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Until then, keep building something great.